Hey yo, it is I the Great Taco, and you're getting this video a week early because next week I won't want to record a video because I'll be exhausted. So here's it now. So this will be the beginning of a sort of new series here, I guess, that I'm going to just start calling Mock Review Redux. So in the time between the first mock reviews that I did for Bionicle and now, I have revamped most, if not all of them. So I thought it'd be cool to revisit some of them. Actually, one of them got disassembled, so we'll be seeing that one again. But here's Dromideus. So the main thing on him was just mostly details, but I gave him a lot more weapons. Stands the same. I think, yeah, the stand's exactly the same. So I'm just gonna have to crack. I need to figure out a better way to attach that. If anyone has tips on that, let me know. So, here's the man. Something I actually noticed with the previous version of him was that the tires on his wrists kind of interfered with articulation a lot more. So here, I have some of them right here. Yep, I do. So I use these thinner tires on the edge of the wrist, like kind of right on the end there, and that kind of filled out the space and kept the bigger tires from wobbling around, but at the cost of wrist movement. So I took these off because the big tires do the job just fine, and I think it looks better that way. I actually also changed the wrist blade from being something dinky and small to something kind of cool. So you might have it right here. Oh, here we go. This isn't the exact piece, or it is the exact piece. So I just had that right there originally. It's double the length and is actually correctly oriented. So that was a nice change. Also, this one can come off. I display him with it, but for when I'm taking pictures and whatnot, I take it off because it's not supposed to be out all the time. Let's see what else I changed. I added these to the bottom of his feet, just kind of as a detail. Thought they looked cool. Give him a little bit more yellow, because as it stands, he doesn't have that much yellow, because I don't have that much of it. I'm going to remove his gun from his hand really quick, or his shotgun, so you see him better. Another thing I added was these yellow bits on his shins to kind of fill out the space, because without them, you just see right through it and it looks kind of ugly. So adding that really just does a lot to fill him out. I also added these little bone things on his arm and on his thigh. And these come from a Ninjago weapons pack that consists of a bunch of different pieces. I think I've reviewed it here before, or looked at sets that contain it. But basically it comes with those, a scythe, a sword. You can get a good view of that. There we go. A sword, a shuriken, a sai, then of course that, which is supposed to be like a head crest. And I think it works well as like an emblem on his armor. Just kind of adds some extra details on him. I also added some clip tiles here to kind of give him more color on this side, because it is very dark on that side. Then I added a nozzle piece here to kind of give more texture. Not that piece really needed it. But yeah. I believe the last time I went over Dromideus, he didn't have a purple heartlight. I believe he had a green one, just because I wanted it to match his head, but he has the purple on the arm, so I thought it would be a good idea to have more. So that's the thing. I also added a snowshoe to kind of like the belt area around here, so it actually not only allows, so without it, these kind of look they're hanging, not very complete. You put that on, it connects. It not only like looks good, but it actually connects these together and kind of creates a more unified shape. It doesn't just like kind of go into nowhere. If you're wondering what piece I used to attach to the snowshoe, is this. It's a newer, like it's a couple years old by this point, so it's a pneumatic piece. They're not super common. I only have like 4 of them, but they're cool. They're becoming more common because they are a couple years old by this point. Now we're on the back here. There's not much that was changed. I moved the flamethrower placement. It used to be in this hole. I moved it in, so that way he has a lot more articulation with his arm. And I mean a lot more. He can move his arm back like this now, when before he couldn't with this armor. Oh, actually, that's another change that's worth noting. His armor on that side used to be just this shell, in the exact same orientation, but I switched it to this one, the 3-long shell. So this armor piece would go up all the way. Yeah, it looks good. So yeah, there's that. I added another clip back here. Initially this was gray, but I added another one in yellow and changed that one to yellow. Sorry about the sniffling. I'm just going to remove this flamethrower really quick so you get a better look at the whole assembly. It is a lot easier to remove now. But it has a tube now, because I thought it looked better. Also, it makes sense. And of course, this tank here, which is very simple, with a wheel at the back, or a kind of knob at the back, bottom, not back, and then transparent purple stud, or 1x1 out the side. Then I used a white half pin to kind of make it look like it glows a little more. That's really about it for the figure. I didn't really do that much to him, but I think the changes I did make were very necessary. Now, weapons. I showed you the shotgun. It's the exact same. Now, the other weapons and also the wrist blade, different obviously. But his sword is slightly different. The piece used here is the same, and the assembly is basically the same, but there's a spike here instead of this piece, which I believe when I reviewed this initially it was yellow, but I needed that to rebuild the set, which I will review in the future. And I used these lightsaber hand hilt pieces from the Star Wars buildable figures, which they behave, or they're exactly the same as these Technic connectors, which I was using before, but they have a lot more detail and they come in silver. So yeah, I like the look of it a lot more. They did the same thing up here, so not much, or not too many changes, but I like it. Then actually there's everything else by this point is going to be new, so I'm going to go over the first weapon, which is it's supposed to be like a sniper rifle, but it has like this at the back, which was like an auto target, so we can actually use the laser and locks on and shoots that way. In universe, he doesn't like using it, so he turns it off. Pretty basic. I'm not going to show this one in his. I'm not going to show all of them in his hand, but just so you get an idea what this one looks like. This one is, I called it the Big Boom because it's very overpowered, inefficient for use, too big to be expensive ammo. Heavy recoil, you get the gist. The weapon itself, though, I wanted to use this barrel piece as the barrel of a gun. That kind of worked out really well. So I attached a bunch of these round bricks, which have the axle holes in the middle, and then put a small corner gear. I think that's what they're called. It's like a half gear in tan. They also come in gray, which is useful. And the rest of it's pretty basic. This is supposed to be a flashlight, not a scope. I can see how you could assume it as a scope, but it is not a scope. This thing does not need a scope. The shots are too big, so yeah. And for the final weapon, this is what I was 3D printing a while ago when I was recording. I forget what video I was recording, but I was recording a video and it was 3D printing. Not this one specifically. I had to reprint it. I'll show you that in a second. But chainsaw. Because he's based on a Doom guy, it seemed fitting to give him a chainsaw. So, the build of this is very simple. If I take this off, you can see the basic framework of it, the whole thing. It's not special, really. I mean, it is kind of, I don't know, but, it's good. this one turned out a lot better than the old one, which I'll actually bring on right now. Oh, also this purple crystal, just matching the rest of the color scheme. So you'll notice, so this side's the one that was on the build plate, so it had a little messy. Then this one looks fine on this side. Then you turn it over. Yeah. The supports ate it up, and I didn't use enough adhesive, so something got under here, then interfered with it, so it didn't print properly, so the supports didn't go properly, and it just destroyed what was left here. And it's impossible to get off too, so, or wait a minute, maybe it's not. It is impossible. But I'm not going to throw it away, because it is still a usable piece, but it is not as good as I wanted it to be. Especially considering how nicely this one came out. Because this one you can see all the details. This side's a little bit messy because this is the side that's down, but you turn it over and it looks fantastic. So, yeah, I should show this one in his hands because it looks really cool when he's holding it. So actually, he uses the same piece as the shotgun to anchor it into his hand, but he needs a second one. So I have this Technic assembly for his other hand, which simply slides into place. Then you can grip. Then of course you have the other side, which his arm just came off. That's not supposed to happen. And this is actually really hard to get in. So we'll try to keep it on camera. And there you go. Basically the same as any of his other weapons, but it looks a lot cooler because it's that chainsaw, and chainsaws are kind of cool. So, yeah. So what it looks like with it. It is very large. It's actually almost the same size as his sword, but his sword is still slightly larger from tip to tip. So, yeah, this is my favorite of the weapons that I've made for him. Just the looks, functionality wise, shotgun still wins because, you know, it looks cool. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about this revised version of Dromideus. So, ciao.